It's all crooked. Straighten this out real quick. All right, now we can see. Perfect. What up, world? And we're back. So it's 2025. You guys have been asking to see a tour of the room, so I figured I might as well give it to you this year. Better than never, right? Been a lot of stuff going on. So as you can see, got some Taylor tots back here. I'm actually going to be building one of these. I have a son on the way. It's been taking up a lot of my time, so that's why I haven't really been producing that many videos. But looking forward to it, you know. 2025 is my year. I think I'm going to go with this one. I'm going to send it out actually to be painted. I'm going to fabricate some stuff. I'm going to actually do a whole separate video on that, so I'm not going to bore you with any of that stuff. Plus, we'll get into all that stuff. I'm going to move stuff around. I'm actually going to take you off the tripod. Right now, you're on the tripod. You guys want to see the in-depth of shit and how things are kind of done? I want to show you how things are constructed. Let's take it off, actually. There we go, and we're live. Move this camera around. All right, so this is Kilos Studios, right? So actually, it's just, to keep it a buck, it's a room in my basement. So we got the Peloton bikes that my wife uses regularly and the tread. Sometimes I play PlayStation 5 over here. All of my lighting, that's pretty sweet. That came, but we can get into that stuff later too, actually. Let's start off over here. So over here, we'll get into, this is where I keep a lot of my camera stuff, right? So we'll get into the camera stuff first. So I have some camera stuff, and obviously I'm into cameras, right? So up top, we got some Mamiya RB67s. There's a Polaroid. There's a high 8 beneath that. 8mm camera, Polaroids, some Nikon 35mm, and then on the bottom are some of my original Canons that I've had in the past. Sony that came from my uncle in Puerto Rico that passed away. Actually, some of this stuff actually came from his collection. For those that don't know, soy Boricua, you know, Puerto Rican in the house. So I brought this case. Let's see if I can see my hand. There we go. I brought that case with me from Puerto Rico, and I carried actually the RB67. I actually bought some glass from Japan and stuff. That's a very fun camera to shoot with. But you guys are lowriders, so probably boring you with this shit, right? But that's what lives over here. This is my lemon tree, by the way. This comes in during winter because it's like snowing and shit, right? I got a lime tree on the other side. Citrus, boys, you know what it is. This is from this past year in 2024 at the Elysian Park. This is a sweet ass sign. This is sold here, genuine lowrider parts, you know. This is from 1999. I'm not exactly sure what it was used for, like how it was sent out, but I picked that up off eBay. Over here, this is a sticker set from 1997. This is very important because we get one bike in particular, which is my favorite bike of all time, which is Casino Dreaming. It's actually currently at the Peterson. That's still going on, but so we got all of the stickers from the collection. So they're holographic, which is pretty cool. I actually have a large one of this too. When I was at Mike's shop, Cadillac Connect out west, he showed me that, and I had to try to find one. Fun hunting that shit down. The Next for Life poster, this actually came to me because if you bought, I think it was issue number 3, but Jeff Hurt from USO, he picked up that issue, and I bought it pretty much. I already had that issue, but I wanted that poster, so I got that poster, right? I actually shot this picture in Chicago with, I think, one of those cameras down there. One of those Canons. I can't remember when. I can't remember what lens. But this is when I started to really get serious. I think this was 2020, maybe? I don't even. I'm sorry, not 20. 2020. Yeah, essentially what I said, right? Down here we got a poster of the USO chapters of the time. A couple years ago. In front of it is actually stanchions and stuff for some of my photography stuff. I do freelance and stuff on the side, you know. So we got the dedication to Danny D. This came from Lifestyles, the Gorilla, you know, Lifestyle Car Club, the homie Gorilla. He hooked me up when I was out there. You might have saw that on the channel. I think that's when I was with Frank from Faucets and Filters. But he gifted that to me, and that made its way all the way to Ohio, you know. The homie Ken is in there, you know. Drastic, Mr. Bean. But then he also gifted me this. This poster is from, I want to say this is from like the early 2000s, because I've seen it in there's a Lowrider Girls issue, which has this poster in it, because this was his car to ride at the time, I'm sorry. But pretty iconic poster to have here. Then this are my beads that came from the USO 30th that was out in Carson. So got some beads hanging on the wall, some badass, you know, months from back in the day, some Zulu stuff over here. Media passes, got a couple media passes from shows that I covered. Pretty cool to have that. Got a box of markers here and shit. Your boy is a graph writer, and I had hella markers. This is like super old though. Just had nowhere to put it, you know. This is a Tribal poster. I got the Tribal shirt too. That came from when Tribal was working with True Spoke, you know. They did a little collaboration. I think that was like 2021. Up here we got some of these 1/64 scales. Most of them are new school. That 63 is a older one. Then there's like the Hot Wheels, that Monte Carlo. Overall, they're pretty cool. Then next to that, we get some Lowrider CDs, some Lowrider VHS, Lowrider DVDs. In front of that, we got some check valves. These check valves, these are OG Adel. You ever seen an Adel check valve? Let's see if I can get this in focus, man. Can it focus? Probably not, huh? There we go. See that? A-D-E-L, Adel, baby. Just to show that they made other things outside of squares. So I like, the one thing about me is I'm all about the history, and I like to preserve the history. That's why I have everything here. This was made for Lowrider Bicycle of the Year. Pretty cool because, I mean, Lowrider Bikes is where I started, and technically I was supposed to win that because I got all the bikes right. This is back in the late low days. He never sent it out, so I plotted it myself. Pesco ad right there in the corner on the table. Parts to a Continental kit for a 64. Some slowdowns because I changed my setup in my Impala. Maybe we'll go look at that in a little bit. Some sight glasses and some number 8 3000 PSI Parker check valves, you know. A bunch of A&N fittings because that's what I'm running on my setup. Some old, like really low grade Lowrider bicycle or Lowrider magazines. I was going to custom make a plate, but I don't know if I will do that still because I figured out another way to do it. Then up here I have some O-rings and stuff for a 777 in case I wanted to build it. Me back in the day, my wife's and mine wedding invitation, or save the date, and some other shit, you know. And that's essentially that for over there, right? Then we get the wall. So this is the wall of all the centerfolds. Centerfolds, right? Shout out to Beto. But as you can see, we also have some banners up top. You could call it, I don't know what you would actually even use those as, flags, Lowrider flags. But we'll work our way down now. So I love the old school shit. So that's the TRC, old school, real OG boombox, not that shit with the iPad or none of that, or iPod in it. This is actually my old drafting table. I went to school for architecture, so I used to have to hand draft and stuff. So that's where I'd be hand drafting. That's where that table comes from. Continental kit. I have a couple just general Lowrider magazines and stuff in here. It's just a bunch of junk. And then the rest of it is like backdrops for photography. Then I have the Continental kit. I want to get a car where I could put this on. That's the whole reason I bought a Continental kit. But I just don't know if I want to go forward with it with the 64 now. So I do have a 64 Continental kit potentially for sale. I have the chrome band, and I also have the raw band. Just needs to be painted. Everything has never been mounted, but I don't even know if it's for sale yet, but I have it. In here are Lowrider bicycle parts. These are not China's. Well, some stuff is China actually, but a lot of it is from Slam and Ride. So from OG Warren Wong stuff. Let's see if we can look inside there. So that's real good chroming and shit. It's just been living in there for a while. Then we get to these Taylor tots, right? Like I said, I'm gonna be building these. There's a couple different ones. You know, they all look the same, but then once you start looking at them, you got the different hand styles. This is the lowest grade one, then the medium grade, and then the highest grade because this has a slanted back and all these other things. So this is the one I'm gonna build, and that will be its own separate video. I'm gonna fabricate some stuff over the weekend and hopefully get a video out on that, right? Then we get to my bike. So I started this bike, I want to say 2011. The bike is right next to it, the OG version. The wheels are not OG, but everything else on the bike is OG. It was made in Cleveland. It's called MTD, you know. Most people went with Schwinn. A lot of my shit, I always try to keep it Cleveland because, you know, that's where I'm based out of. So, same bike, but they were called the Wheelie King. So they were just called typically the King. So I named it El Rey. El Rey had just came out from Elite at the time. So kind of a similar paint scheme. I remember I asked them at the time for their blessing because I just didn't want to go and knock them on that shit. But this was in a process of being rebuilt. I built some parts for it and just never got shit chromed. Kind of want to just go through, and if I find somebody that could fabricate some parts, I'll probably go forward with this and redo the whole bike. And then I would like to have a bike for my son. Back here I have a drive shaft for my 64 Impala. Haven't put that in. You might have seen that on the channel. The Impala's just been sitting, honestly, so it's been a little bit of time. In the corner over here, actually, we can move some of the stuff out because these are on wheels. So everything's on wheels, right? And you're handheld, so shouts out to everybody watching. So over here, this is where I keep a lot of my centerfolds up top. Actually, this is, I feel like everybody knows now because I just keep saying the same shit, but the Dick Duluth hats. Shouts out to the homie, rest in peace. Thank you for everything you did. Lowrider, this is 20 Years Chasing a Dream. The Best Is Yet to Come by Beto. All his books, you know. I always shout his stuff out on the channel. Very good quality stuff. You know, check them out. Then I got some, what do we got? These are the centerfolds from it. And then I have USO 30th. I did a book for, actually, for those who don't know, I guess, I shot a lot of photos for the USO 30th anniversary. It was actually a really big blessing and almost like a dream, like, you know, to be able to do something like that. But over here we have magazines. So we start off 77, right? Everybody knows this cover. You know, start all the way over here and we go through the whole Lowrider series. But before that, we got this longboard. This came from Warren Wong. So Kenny, welcome to SoCal. This is Warren Wong. This was gifted to me, I want to say 2019, maybe 17, 18, I can't remember. I tend to go out to California regularly, so some of the dates blur together. Finest Creations. You know, Finest Creations and Legions are the two top Lowrider bicycle clubs. I am affiliated with Finest Creations, so, but we'll go back and look at all these magazines still. So if you see through the spokes, this is where I keep a lot of like the reader's rides, and then this will be all of the Lowrider bicycles. So this is issue 1, as you know. So essentially we go through all of the 70s, 80s, and then the early 90s, Lowrider bicycle and stuff like that. And then we come over here, and we get into some of this stuff. I got a lot of shit, man. Set this down on the ground. So this is a photo of all the Lowrider bicycle magazines. We did that for a California Love Lowrider bicycle magazine show. This would have been, I want to say 2022, 2021. Then this is obviously Casino Dreamin', my favorite bike. Mike's the owner, you know. If you want to get some posters, he still has some, so you can hit him up to get those. And that's Mike at Cadillac Connect on Instagram. Well, his thing is at Cadillac Connect. So, and then over here, all these hats. This also came from Dick Duluth. This is an OG. I wore it sometimes. I think I wore this out to LA for the USO 30th, but that's the, I don't think that was actually the only time I've actually even worn that out there. I was wearing that regularly for a little bit, but now I think like I want to just let it rest, you know. It's so much history and it's just awesome to have in the collection, and I don't want to, you know, lose it or get anything bad happen to it. Lowrider 30 years, so 30 years, I want to say that's like 2007. So a Red Hat, Los Santos, and then you got Rayanos, another Rayanos, D&H Hydraulics. So some cool little things over there. Like I said, this is a MTD bicycle made in Cleveland, Ohio. MTD also did make lawnmowers. And then they kind of did a transition or acquisition through their company, and now they're currently more known as Cub Cadet. So if you ever see a Cub Cadet anywhere, That MTD is still technically like the parent company, but that's all minor shit you guys don't even need to know, right? Then I have a carrier bearing for my 64 and another Finest Creations plaque. This is the Ice Cube, and then Tupac next to him. Then we got some of these models. These are, I don't even remember, but I had to pick them up. This especially, the Joker car. This is a switch panel that will probably go into the 6.4. I have just the 2 equalizers in there, and so I only really need 2 switches. So then Finest Creation plaque. Again, I have another frame plate with AAA Cleveland. We'll look at the wall. So I have a couple of these Lowrider magazines sold here. I thought those stickers were dope, so I had to pick up some of those. Casino Dreamin', like I said, my favorite bike. So a little thing. This is actually from their first show. That's in 1996. Probably never seen that anywhere, right? Super exclusive. This is the large sticker as well. And then we got some of the new school prints, same as the large posters, but in sticker form. The new sticker forms are not holographic, but they are still sweet as fuck to have. So then this is a old cutout that a coworker actually gave me because he was into hot rods. And this was in 1974, I believe. This is a reprint of it, though. This is from the 2007 Hot Rods March edition. This is a show that obviously has passed. This is June 24th, 23, Portland. This is their Lowrider show. The centerfolds, a lot of them I picked up from a guy. He had a lot of magazines, and he had them hung up before. So a lot of them came from that. And then when I get magazines that are in very poor quality, I'll take the centerfold out. And if somebody wants it, they could have it pretty much at that point. But as you can see, majority of mine are pretty much full. So in my free time, I like to calm down and kick it down here. This is like, you know, I just relive in the past, right? So you can see that there's a bunch of doubles and shit. So this is just an example of pretty much all of them. Got the wire stuck for the camera. But all of them have doubles and triples pretty much. We'll go through some of these more less known issues of magazines. I'm actually going to stick you on the tripod for that one because I'm going to sit down. But we'll go through all that together. Let me step back. We'll get some of this stuff over here too. Centerfolds magazine next to my junction box for my electrical panel. And then this came from a homie. He moved up here from Dallas and he gifted that to me. That's pretty cool to have. But that's pretty much that, and I'll actually show you some more stuff over here. So my lemon tree and stuff, like I said, this is my basement where I'll go kick it. This is a rug from Esteban, his 64. Wrote graph, so these are actually my letters. This is my homie Poke, TKO. TV station, sometimes we'll play Supra next to 64. There's a reason for that. I might as well just take you to show you, right? We'll go real quick. Let's go. So a lot of people talk shit because they don't know that I have a car. But it's like snowing and shit. It's all cold. See? We got snow. Cold, so the Impala lives in the garage. I'm gonna grab a key to open up the trunk. Just so you guys can see, Password JDM out of LA, those guys closed down a long time ago, I think. Holding the camera one-handed. Let's see, get this. I'm actually going to turn the light on. See if that helps at all. I'll even lift it up. See, salt truck's out. That's what that is, salt truck, because we got snow and shit. Oh, needs fucking fluid, huh? So it's been leaking a little bit. I think I gotta tighten some of these fittings. But we have two 777s, in here. If you follow the channel, you've probably seen where these came from. I picked these up 2020. These came from Ted Wells. Majority of this stuff came from Ted Wells. Not all of it though. So the 777s came. The backing plate I put on, that came from the homie John, Low for Life out of Michigan. The ADEX came from Ted Wells. The slowdown came from Frank, but I bought it from Ted. The sight came from Frank, but I bought it from Ted, not knowing at the time. I have the EQ from Andel Sales out of not Portland, but Oregon. So it's basically almost a mirror. If you're familiar with Pesco's or aircraft as a whole, you know that the pump heads, they're kind of set. You can't mirror them exactly. It's almost impossible. So there is a slight little jog in this line here, but for the most part, pretty much the same setup. Pretty proud of doing it. I used to have this set up a little bit differently, but now it's ran like this because less fittings, less problems, right? All of it is blue anodized fittings. With it being blue anodized fittings, just know that there is essentially a clear coat, so it's not metal to metal contact, so you cannot run it as a ground. That was a little problem that I had. Obviously, I have to still clean up some of these wires, but I'm just trying to give you guys a nice little tour because you guys are checking in this video, right? So that's essentially it. I mean, it's a 6.4. There's not much to it, right? But lowrider parts or bicycle parts, A-arms. I have to still put those in. Bicycle frames. Cylinders, just a typical lowrider garage. I mean, you guys probably think that in Ohio and shit, there's nothing but corn farms, I mean, and shit, but there's some lowrider activities over here. We get snow and shit, but it doesn't stop. I do have a color bar in here that came from Ted Wells as well. So that's a Ted Wells red color bar. Can you guys see it? Ooh, ooh, there we go. I want to change out the interior. There's a lot of things I want to change on this. I have a little crack here. Body mount's been fixed, but that is body work that has to happen. Don't really ever do any in-depth tours on this car. It comes out occasionally, but I'm out of Cleveland and all of the shows that I attend usually are not. Then this is a Supra. You guys know what a Supra is. You know, right-hand drive and shit. It's actually my wife's car. But like I mentioned, she's pregnant, so she hasn't been driving. And close the garage. And back in the house we go. So back over here, lime tree, doing pretty decent. We'll talk about that at a later time probably if you guys want to check out Ketel's Gardens. But I'm actually going to stick true to my word and I'm going to pull out some of these rare magazines and we're going to go through them so I could kind of talk my stuff, you know. Up here we do have street customs. I actually kind of like street customs. I didn't have too many of them, and I'm growing to actually really enjoy them. Of the era, I think that this was a superb magazine compared to the Lowrider magazine. But this is the Mac that I'm going to be editing this video on that I just purchased because my previous one was not working the best. I do have more new equipment coming in. I have a new GoPro 13 coming in. I have a couple new things for the brand new year because I'm trying to stay up to date with everything. When I do content, I try to always have the best gear. Right now we're shooting with my Canon with the 15 to 35 L 2.8. You know, I was trying to do this single-handedly because I'm still holding this camera, and I'm going to put you on this tripod, right? Can I do this? Can I do this? You're going on the tripod, and you're on. So in my household, we do not wear shoes, so I am rocking Crocs because they are my indoor shoes. Do not rock me for them because I don't wear these shits outside unless it's on the beach. Right. All right. I'm going to turn the viewing monitor around. And now we have full screen. All right. So over here, these are a little bit more of the more unique lowrider magazines. As I mentioned, Street Customs, great magazine. These are all of latter year pretty much. So this is the Andes 1983 mail catalog. So these are all parts that you would have gotten in 1983, you know. So a lot of these are going to be the Fennerstone, like you got a Waterman's dump, You have true Delta dumps that came from Chicago and stuff. A lot of these parts, if you know your stuff, came from Chicago because that's where a lot of the gates came from originally. You have true spoke wheels, true rays. You have weld wheels. I mean, this is pretty much what you were riding. People didn't really ride Daytons until almost like the late 80s. That's when, and it was more of a Compton thing, to keep it a buck, based on Lowrider magazine. But this is what you would get. Got Andy on the back, and you know, this is what you'd get, and you'd order your shit, right? This is the technical Lowrider. I don't know if there was ever any more issues of this. I have 3 copies of it because I'm a hoarder, right? This is good because this goes over the history of Lowrider, the first Lowrider with hydraulics. And I think that this one is one that says that Jim Long out of, I'm not going to bore you guys and try to read through it, but Jim Long was the first Lowrider, where then Lowrider magazine comes back and says that it was actually somebody else that did it, which was, I can't remember his name, Ray with Sonic X. This great magazine. I don't know where these were based out of, but these were kind of a cool little magazine. Not as good as the, for my Lowrider bicycle people out here, you know. This is out in Oxnard. Where you at, Mike? But so, actually, that's Mike's car right there. I think no, it's not. It's just nice for its time. But I don't have many of these, I don't think, for scrape. I have this scrape, and I have this scrape. This, can you see it on the camera? Yep, same, right? Joker. These were okay. I didn't really go out, I wouldn't go out of my way to pick these up. Now, then we get into this Reds catalog. Again, this is pretty much, this is their early catalog, so there's a lot of Fennerstone stuff still, and this is when they started making their own blocks. So you would have pretty much Fennerstone equipment with a block made by them. Open this up so you guys can see. So, the old school Reds. How to build a Lowrider, classic old school book, right? This is Main Street Lowrider. I don't have many of these. I don't know if the next one we'll pull out is the same brand, but this seemed like a magazine that was trying to get their feet off the ground. Like we have this is Lowrider's, and then this is Lowrider's magazine. I don't know if this is the same. I tried to look into it. If you guys know, maybe you guys could tell me. But it's Lowrider's magazine, and then this is Lowrider's magazine, so I'm assuming that it's the same. I'm not really sure because it looks so drastically different, right? I don't know. But we got the Lowriders, a couple different issues of those. These are a pretty good magazine. The print quality was pretty good. I mean, it was a lot of features and a lot of event coverage. Look, you got Ted Wells right there. Guy I was just talking about, I picked up my setup from, right? He's right there. What do you know? But it's pretty cool magazine. Then you get Low Company. These are pretty hard to get your hands on. There's only a couple out there that I have, but these were a pretty good magazine. And that's all that I have. There's still one that's on eBay, but I've been trying to pick up, but the guy doesn't want to come down his price, so it's been whatever, right? Then we get Street Cruising. I think this was gifted to me by that same coworker at my job. A nice little, I mean, for what it is of the era, it's just different, right? Then we get Carcraft. This is important because this is the one that we get the article where it talks about people cruising, and you guys may have seen this somewhere. This is the Lowriders. This is how they were cruising, a lot of the Corvairs and stuff. For those that don't know, this is the magazine that it was in. It's not the easiest magazine to get your hands on, but you know, you got to keep that history, right? Street Rods. I don't know. This is, what year is this? This is 75. I think this is the one. This is the OG issue for this one. So that's why I have this one. We'll see if I can find it real quick. If not, I'm not going to bore you. Actually, this might not be that one, but this is the one that talks about why you run the two squares back to back. Do you see that? So I wanted to run, if you look at my setup, the way my ADEX are, they're palmed slightly differently, but I wanted to run them side to side like that because that was kind of the old way. You got dum-dums, look at those, you see those cylinders? That was the OG way of doing it, and I just wanted to pay homage because I wanted to build a traditional lowrider, and that's how I appreciate it, but that's not everybody's cup of tea, so I understand that. I had the extra square here because the way my setup was, and then you get, you know, hot rods. This is another, if I have it in my collection, there we go. This is the one, this is the original, April 75. That one up there, this is the original one that's in. So that's why this one's here. Where are we at? That picture, same one, right? So, Gypsy Rose 3. But that's why I have all these magazines and shit. So, if it has lowrider content in it, I pretty much run with it. Lowrider Scene. This is the first issue. I'm not going to bore you. This is pretty good. The issue with this one was sometimes the text got hard to read. It wasn't standardized based off of the spacing and stuff. But overall, pretty good magazine. I like these because these would show you the whole... Look at that stroller. Tailor tie, right? Look, it looks like some D-twist in there. Is this Engrave It? I'm not going to bore you and try to read it right here on screen, right? Or on camera. But... I'm not even going to take those out because that's Lowrider Scene. We have Popular Mechanics in here. You might be like, why the fuck you got Popular Mechanics from 1958, right? Well, this Popular Mechanics goes over putting factory lifts in a car. So not lifts in a sense of hydraulic lifts, but the first cars that kind of came with their air suspension. So they would use cars... The car that uses more aircraft principles than any other land-bound vehicle yet built, right? What this is talking about is using bags. So they're using a compressor, belt-driven on the motor, and this would essentially raise and lower, like you would know that they would come on. They officially started coming on like Cadillacs in 57, and then in 58, 59, you were able to get that option pretty much on all of them. This would be one of those 58 options where you can get this put on. This is, they call it the Airborne B58 Buick, right? I've seen one in person. It was a 4-door. This also has other options, like where like other GM-based cars have that option to have the airbags in them. Again, I'm not going to bore you and go through all that now because I don't have that page marked. So, but that's there. Some people don't know. Lowrider magazine towards the end, it got thinner, right? Everybody knows it got thinner. But the other thing people don't know, it went back to having staples in it, just like the OG ones. Did you know that? So we had, this is the bound one. We got Kita's car right here, rest in peace Kita. But then you also have, they're stapled. You know, a lot of people don't know that. So last issue of Lowrider magazine, what do you know? This was January 2020, when the world stopped basically, right? Lowrider magazine stopped too. They knew that they were gonna have to stop because production. Sometimes I hold on to old magazines that are missing covers and shit. I think this is a 94 issue, yeah, July 94. I hold on to it in the collection because 94, 95 is when the magazine started to get really big, so the covers came off, but it's still pretty good content to hold on to, so I just would. This is a Pesco manual, because obviously I have Pesco. This came from the homie, not Bomb Scared, but the other homie, I can't remember his name right now off the top of my head. Bomb Division, the crew. That's where it came from. I actually got some Lowrider Euros, some calendars. Lowrider Euros is probably my least favorite. I have a nice little collection of it, just because I was able to pick some of these up. But, I mean, just to show that the era that it was at the time, not my favorite at all, but it's all pretty much here. You know, I got tons of them. And I'm going to see what I have underneath it, because I think I have some other magazines. I don't really pull these out that much because they're not, it's all like Hondas and shit, you know? It's a good thing, like a time capsule, but it's just really ain't my thing. The Lowrider Girl magazines, I have a couple of these. Honestly, these kind of suck. These are just like softcore, like basically magazines. They're kind of whack. They're not all that. Lowrider was trying to do pretty much everything that they could. So they were trying to get whatever magazine that they could. Remember they had a SUV magazine. I think I have that in here somewhere too. I don't know, man. They had all kinds of shit going on. I don't know why, what rhyme or reason. If you work there, let me know. But some of that shit was just not popping, right? It's just a bunch of whack stuff that they were doing. So we're gonna put these Lowrider magazines back. Everything stays in order. So this is my library. This is my, when I have a question, I come down here. Sometimes I'll come down here just to look and reminisce, like I mentioned. The Euros. Put some of these back. So these are those OG magazines. Do you collect any magazines? What magazines do you have in your collection? If you do, why do you collect? I collect because I preserve. I just want to preserve history. I get enjoyment out of it. So I came from the graph writing kind of world, right? So I used to kick it on 12 ounce and just, it was all about the preservation of history. It was all oral history, right? And I like doing that with Lowrider, but it all doesn't have to be oral history with Lowrider because we have a lot of it documented. So I like to actually document or hold on to a lot of the documented history, because once some of this leaves away, it's gone forever, right? Just like some of that early content from the early late low days, some of that shit's gone forever. Whether you're using PhotoBucket and all those other websites that want to make you pay for their service now, so they watermark all your original content. We're going to get into some of these magazines. Out of all of the magazines, Street Customs is one of my favorite. Now I would have to say traditional lowriding is my second favorite. The reason is, this is really, obviously we have, this is talking about yesteryear, not current in production. The reason I like it is because it shows good interior photos. It captures pretty much the mid-2000s pretty well. Actually, this was Brent's car, actually. Pretty sure this is Brent's. All right? I don't know. When I was at his shop, he was showing me all of the magazines. But essentially, Mr. Impala, if you know the name, he was involved taking pictures with this magazine. I actually was gifted some of these magazines from Jeff Hurt from USO, and he gave me the first issue that I had been tracking down forever, and it was great to get, but I'm still after that cover number 1 of 2, because I only have 2 of 2, right? Great magazine though. I love everything about this magazine. There's only 4 copies of it. I have all 4, but I want to collect that other alternate copy. It also went into the back history, like this one. They were talking about, obviously, if you know that car, that's Andy's car, Andy Lodi from ADEX, right? And it preserves that history. And like I said, this the whole basis of me doing what I do is because I enjoy the history and I like to preserve it, because without preserving it, it just goes away, right? Who's really out there keeping a lot of this history written down and stuff? Now this is the Japanese stuff. This is still in production. Not this. This is the Full Life, the original one. Much thinner. This is the issue 11, December 18. Very cool magazine. It's really cool to see Japan show love to lowriding like they do and how they have. And you're able to capture that. And the next Full Life actually have the new issue coming. Andy sent it out, and I should be receiving that soon. So that's coming in. But these are great magazines, the photo quality, and if you know Japan, they are very big on setups, and that's their whole builds. They can really compete with a lot of the cars here. That's why I was surprised that, never mind, I'm not gonna say that part. If you know, you know. La Cultura. La Cultura is a 2-issue, I believe. We're looking for issue 3, but I don't think they ever dropped issue 3, right? It was pretty cool because they covered United States, Japan, Australia, and New Zealand. It was showing la cultura de todo el mundo. La gente que no sabe que habla español. Mucha gente creo que soy un árabe, pero no. But, you know, the Lade magazine, I actually didn't have any of these. These also came from Jeff Hurt. Appreciate that for adding that to the collection. Impala's magazine, this is when bombs and Impalas were kind of the similar magazine, or one of the same. Steven from Bombs, great guy. Sad he passed away. Actually, I think he sent me this issue. This is the premiere issue, #1. So he sent me a lot of my Lowrider bicycle magazines, because I had Lowrider bicycle magazines back in the day when I was young, right? But I'd read them shits and they'd get fucked up. So I found him. This would have been like 2009, and that's when I really started getting my collection back up. And in about 2009, 2008, somewhere around that time, I reached out to him and I was like, hey, he had magazines that he had been sitting on, and I tried to buy up. I only bought singles a lot of the ones that I had, but I wish I would have bought more because he had tons of them, and they weren't as ridiculously priced as they are now, right? This is Street Low. This magazine I picked up surely because the homie Volo, this is the first issue that he had a cover on. You see that? That's important to me because Volo's the homie, and you know, you got to preserve that history, right? There's a lot of people who worked with Street Low. It's a pretty interesting, I don't have too many of them. I have a couple Street Lows, but I don't have many of them. I'm gonna have to build that collection up. But like I said, right now I'm working on that Street Customs. I really enjoy those. Street Customs, Street Low, I feel like they had so many different photographers that it was hard to kind of get a style, you know? Lowrider of the Month. That's Volo's work right there, homie Volo. I feel like it just was a mash of things, kind of like the Orleys. Orleys goes through that later too, and I'll show that to you too, right? And you got the Viejito. I only have this issue. I don't know if there is any more. I've been looking for more. I think that this is a primarily Texas-based magazine. That's what it felt like. But Dallas, Corpus Christi, La Salina Spike. But that's what it felt like. And obviously based off of everything in here, shows and events, San Antonio, Austin, San Antonio, Laredo. Like this is all Texas-based stuff, right? So you got Lowrider bicycle, some decent parts on there, but that's what it was up there. So only have that one issue though. Some more Impalas magazine. I don't have too many of those. I also need to work on that, but it was okay. A lot of show coverage. It's hard when you just stay with Impalas because there's only so many versus showing everything. What else do we have? I'll put these over here. Boulevard. So we got Boulevard magazine. Boulevard magazine, this is issue #1. This is a pretty good magazine actually too as well. I liked Boulevard magazine. So from my understanding, what a lot of people would do is they would shoot for Lowrider magazine and then they would leave. Like you got Albert Lopez, right? They would shoot for Lowrider magazine and then they would just start their own thing, right? Overall, I feel like this was a pretty good magazine. All the issues are here. I'm not going to bore you with that, but they're all here. So there's multiples of a lot of them. And then what do we got over here? This is the Orleys. This is one of the earlier issues I have, fall '91. I don't think this is the first issue, but we're getting pretty early. They started out in '91, I believe. But that whole side, on this whole side is Orleys. It's hard because they're all stapled, and I just don't like handling the magazines that much. I keep them there if I need to go into them, but I don't really typically go into them that much. But just to see the era, I mean, you got the Suzukis, the Samurais and shit, just to see that whole era is fucking cool. But that's essentially it, you know. Put this back in here. And that's pretty much my whole collection. I don't think I have much else to really share with you guys. If you guys wanted to know more, I'm more than happy to kind of divulge whatever information. I don't know how to share the magazine content with people because it's pretty boring to just read it off. I don't think people really want to listen to that shit, right? So I don't know how to really get that information out there and share that with the world. But I wouldn't mind trying to. No, this will go on top. This goes here. But people have been asking for a tour. It's 2025. It's actually the first day of the year. I shoot these videos at night because I live in a house and it gets loud sometimes, right? So it's kind of hard, but I'll do what I need to do to try to get the shit out. That's essentially it, man. I don't know. I don't want to keep you guys here. I think I showed you pretty much everything. If you guys have any questions, feel free to drop any questions. Be on the lookout for the Taylor Tot stroller being built. Sun on the way. Peace and many blessings. Also, I do want to shout out actually a couple people. I should have did this earlier in the video for everybody who stayed. Peace and many blessings. Appreciate you. Growing up, I didn't have much family, right? So I got into lowriding because I wanted to connect to my roots. My roots being Latino. My family came from New York and shit, and it was its own vibe and shit, right? Whatever. And I wanted to get in touch with the more Latino side because I grew up more in an Afro-Caribbean household and shit, right? But I was trying to get more to my Latino roots, and I fell in love with lowriding through a friend of mine, and always try to learn as much as I could, right? And in that process, a lot of the people I looked up to, I've met, and they've been really good friends. I want to give a shout out to Volo out there for sending some gifts for my baby. I really appreciate that. Homies out in Click Car Club Chicago, I really appreciate that. And yeah, I'm getting a weird, camera's getting hot. So just want to say thank you, man, to everybody who sent gifts. You guys didn't have to. Peace and many blessings. Camera's getting hot, so we're going to sign out. We're going to edit this on the new computer. First video I'm editing in 2025. First video I'm editing on the new camera. On the new computer. So let me know how this works. I just want to say thank you for checking out the video.